Monday, December 17th, 2018, regular session in Anamosa City Council, City Hall Council Chambers. 1.0 roll call.
Sorry, this is. Mechanical difficulties. Rich.
Here.
Kay.
Here.
John.
Here.
Rod.
Here.
Cody.
Here.
Betty.
Here.
2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3.0 A motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings: November 26, 2018, regular council meeting,
Move to approve.
Second.
and November 27th, 2018, special council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
First one by Betty and Kay, and second one by Betty and John. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 4.0 Public Hearings. 4.1 Public Hearing on proposal to enter into a development agreement with Eagle View Land Development Incorporated. And I'll open the public hearing. Have you heard anything from anybody on?
We haven't received any comment.
Anybody else?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
First by Rod, second by Betty to close the public meeting. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 5.0 Presentations. 5.1 Sheriff Greg Robert, Jones County ATV Ordinance.
Council, Mayor, City Administrator, thank you. I just wanted to take a couple minutes of your time. It was my understanding that you guys were at least in the discussion about maybe making some changes to your current golf cart UTV ordinance. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, some of you may be familiar with or recently being familiar with our county ATV UTV ordinance. Is it my understanding you did get that with your packet?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had a chance to review that? Okay. And so just a quick history on that. I was invited to a group that was wanting to put this together, and so I was heavily involved from the very beginning, because anytime that y'all pass an ordinance, generally we are the ones stuck enforcing it. And so I wanted to make sure that if our agency was going to be enforcing this ordinance, that there were provisions in there that I felt met the needs of the public to make it safe to do such. And so from the very beginning, I was heavily involved with the language that went into that current ordinance. I ended up, which was very helpful, I ended up contacting 6 sheriffs of counties approximately our size that already had it in place, and wanted to find out from them, what do you like about it, what do you hate about it, and what would you change? And that was actually probably the most productive part of the entire thing. And so a lot of that feedback we actually put into ours. And so we were fortunate to be able to, what I'll say, kind of borrow language from others that worked, and some of them told us what they would have changed, and so all that went into our ordinance. And so I have 6 contract towns that I deal with. 3 of which already had a golf cart, ATV, UTV ordinance in play, 3 of them still do not. And so what we have done is, I have already with I generally attend their meetings once a month, and they are also in discussions about maybe making some changes, because the goal of this is to hopefully provide some uniformity to the public when the public is going to be traveling from the county into town, and potentially from within the city out into the county. And so the city of Monticello is also in that process right now of kind of looking at theirs and possibly making some changes to make it a little bit easier. Now, when we did that, I took all of the local ordinances that we already had and looked at the language that you kind of already had in yours. And because we kind of going into that wanted to provide some uniformity to the public for ours, for the people that we knew would be traveling from city out into the county. And so I wanted to point out a couple things as you guys move forward as far as what we have in ours. And the first one is the DNR permit. Well, we did require them to have the DNR permit, which is purchased at the local recorder's office. I believe you do, or I think you have a permit, or maybe looking at going to your own type of permit, and that was something we did look at. Monticello currently has that now. Most of the reason behind doing that is they say it kind of controls making sure that the public has insurance and that kind of stuff before you issue the permit. Now, we chose not to go that route because if you look at it more from a cost, because I think some think that there's money to be made in that. By the time you buy the permits, by the time you have staff that are looking at the paperwork, issuing the permits, documenting all that stuff, it ends up being somebody gets tasked with doing that. And so we chose not to tackle that. We put it back on the DNR. As long as they provide the DNR sticker, then that's kosher for us. Now, so somebody in the county, if you still have your sticker, a county resident would be required, if you keep that, to have both the DNR sticker and your current permit to be able to travel into town. The other thing that we allow ATV operation. So I think you're specifically, unless it's snow, I believe, you do not allow ATVs. You are UTV and golf carts. We do allow ATV operation in ours. I know there was some discussion, if you look in our ordinance, there's 3 classes in there. And that's something that I had kind of heard from the public. They were having issues because I don't remember if their UTV was above the weight which you allow or the size. On our page 2, off-road utility vehicle, there's 3 definitions in there. And so I would encourage you to possibly look at those definitions. We weren't the brilliant makers to put this together. This is actually in the state code. This is what the state says, here are your 3. You can adopt any of the 3 or all 3, and so most jurisdictions are adopting all 3. And so it makes it easier for the public to kind of know, and for you to decide what is and what isn't, because now there's so many of these UTVs that are coming out. And I mean, they're everywhere from 6-seaters to 2-seaters, and so if you're looking for definitions, that's where you're gonna wanna look. We actually got that out of the code. The other thing that we allow that you currently do not is we allow 16 and 17-year-olds to operate as long as they first of all have a valid license, and second of all, they have passed and carry their ATV DNR education course. There is a course that the DNR puts on for 16 and 17-year-olds for ATVs. They've taken that course, they get their certificate, we allow them operations. So that's something that if you do not, I've talked with Chief Hoyt about this, it's something that you're gonna run into is we do allow that. The code also allows that, and that's why we put that into our ordinance. One thing that I would recommend, now, when it came to the insurance, if you saw in our insurance said 500,000, 500,000, and 100,000. We actually got that from the city of Monticello, because going back to having some uniformity, We didn't want us to require 250,000 and then a county member drive into the city of Monticello. Monticello has the 500,000 requirement, and therefore they would be in violation of the Monticello ordinance and could potentially be held liable for that. So I contacted an insurance company and said, hey, if I buy a brand new UTV, what would you recommend for insurance on that? And what the numbers mean is the first number, the 250,000 or 500,000, is personal injury, one person. So it covers up to that for one person. The second number of 500,000 is total injury for the event. So if you have 3 people injured, it covers up to 500,000 on all 3 people. The 100,000 is simply property damage only. Vehicles, if they run into a house or a garage, that's what that covers. So when I talk to a independent insurance company, they recommend 250, 100,000 is what they recommended for anybody coming in off the street who buys a UTV. And they quoted me a price of $28 a year. And I said, okay, if we wanted to bump that up to 500,000, 500,000, 100,000, how much does that raise it? It actually raised it $5. So we just decided for the coverage, it was a no-brainer. Now, one thing that I'm going to strongly recommend to you is you currently are basically listing the state's minimum requirements for insurance. That minimum requirement is 20,000, 40,000, 15,000 property damage. We last year got into a situation where we got hit by a driver, one of our squads, hit by a driver who had the state's minimum coverage, and it didn't even cover the equipment loss that we had in our vehicle. And so one thing I'm going to strongly encourage you to look at doing is increasing your insurance amount, because the state minimum requirement is extremely pathetic. And so think of it this way: if you have one person in that ATV or UTV or golf cart, and let's say they would get flown for whatever reason, that's probably going to eat up the minimum requirements. So anybody else that's injured in that UTV or golf cart is probably not going to have enough insurance coverage. So the money we're talking about, that's something I would strongly recommend that you increase. It's not a huge burden to the public to increase those rates. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and something I talked about with Chief Hoyt, is we allow operation from sunset to sunrise, and which basically is your dark hours. One thing that we looked at from other counties was the primary reason that we did that was for farming and also for hunting. And so under the farm exemption, which we've had a lot of questions on, farm exemption in the code ends at sunset. So if you're using your ATV, UTV for farm use, as soon as it gets dark, you're no longer able to operate under that exemption. And so counties have actually opened it up, and so a farmer, especially this year, because the harvest ran so late, that they could go from the farm exemption to the county ordinance and continue to operate their UTVs or ATVs to run equipment back or personnel out in the fields, and they could continue to do that through the dark. And so we allow that as long as they have an operating headlight and taillight. And so one thing that I talked about with him is I would venture to say you're probably going to see people coming into town to go to the gas stations or that sort of stuff, or come into town to go to a restaurant. It gets dark, then they're going to be trying to leave, and technically they'd be in violation of your ordinance. And so that's a few things that I kind of wanted you to think about. Now, what I've told my other towns is, you know, you kind of have some incentive, because you may say, why would you care about somebody from the county coming into your town? Well, you're going to get those people coming into restaurants, to your bars, to your gas stations, that sort of stuff. So there is a little bit of incentive there. And so when I did our ordinance, when I saw in your ordinance, I saw under your 7410, you had motor vehicle laws. And basically what you have listed in yours is you're requiring the public to follow the state code. We took a little different approach, and that's why ours is 5 pages. We labeled everything out of this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you can and can't do, because a lot of times the public is ignorant. They don't know what the code is. And so in our ordinance, we put it in plain language. I spent probably about 25 hours, I would say, reading code, making sure that everything that went in here is exactly what the state code says. Because actually the state code governs a lot of ATVs and UTVs when it comes to operation in the state. And so the other thing is the state code for us does not permit golf carts to be out in the county, period. And so that's why you will not see golf carts permitted under the county ordinance, is because the state says that you cannot allow that operation. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. I believe, and I'm not part of this, there is a ATV club, and they've already been in contact with the other counties about jointly putting maps out and doing ATV routes and that kind of stuff, and linking to restaurants and towns and that kind of stuff. I believe there's 4 counties going in to do that. I'm not part of that group, but that group, I believe, is, their intention is to make their way to each town and talk to you. So at some point, you may get them in front of you. I am not part of that group, and I'm not here speaking on their behalf. But I did want to bring this to you just for the simple fact is I kind of want you to, I had the fortunate, a lot of you already had one in place, so we were able to kind of look at everybody's language and put something together that I think is probably one of the better ones that I've seen as far as laying everything out. And so now I think, since we've kind of brought this to the mix and you're gonna see your residents going into the county, county's residents coming in, now is a good time for kind of everybody to look together and maybe make it a little more easy for their public without intentionally violating the law. So do you have any questions? All right, well, if you do, certainly you can contact me, and I would be happy to take care of it or go through Chief White, and I'm sure him and I will be having more of this discussion as things move forward, so.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. 6.0 proclamations none. 7.0 community betterment. 7.1 discussion and possible action on third reading of ordinance amending Chapter 74 of the City Code to change the definition of a permitted vehicle and prescribe new regulations for registration.
So, I mean, we can certainly consider further changes to our ordinance if you'd like. One thing that would be good to point out, I guess, is as our UTV golf cart ordinance is currently written, you actually legally can't really travel between the county and the city because all the roads leading out to the county are considered high traffic or whatever, so that they're actually excluded from travel. Cherry Street, Old Dubuque, 3rd Street,
Ford Street.
North Ford.
Elm
So
You've got what?
you can cross those streets, but you can't drive on them. So
Well, you've got what, 2 streets that lead to the county, right then, Holt,
Iowa.
and Iowa.
I mean, this was intended so people could drive their golf carts and utility vehicles around town, correct? I mean, it wasn't intended.
I don't know. I mean, that would seem
That
to be
was
the case,
to me,
but I can't say.
that
for
I
sure.
understood it, that was the whole purpose in this was,
But aren't there places in town that really aren't in the city, like down here by Five Corners where Parham's have that building?
Yeah.
Isn't that's, and where the old Pioneer Place, is that in town or is that in county?
That's in the county.
So,
But the street itself is
street.
in the city. Old
the
Dubuque
school
Road
was in the city.
Old Dubuque Road is in
Yeah,
the city,
that's in
city.
but then on the east side of that is in the county? Is that what I
There's
hear
a
you
parcel,
saying?
yeah.
Portion
Part of it.
Not all of it. But you can't cross 151.
Right.
You can cross.
You can cross
You
it?
can
I don't-
cross at a 90,
Can't drive
a state highway.
down a state highway. You can cross over, but not
cross a divided highway, but
In the discussion Greg and I had a week ago, you could cross at a 90-degree on that. Since 151 would divide half the county, that it's permitted.
So that would be the Third Avenue into town.
well, our ordinance still out, keeps Old Dubuque, is that correct?
Old Dubuque Road isn't, can't be driven on, literally. We cross, but it can't be
So-
driven
And I get
So
that,
then you can't come in
on. Mm-mm.
Old
Now,
Dubuque
is
Road,
that-
so.
Right,
Is that considered a state road, Old Dubuque Road?
It's
No.
a main entrance to the city. That's why they put all any main arterial accesses into the city are prohibited to drive on linear. the
By
linear
current
road,
ordinance?
For our ordinance, yes.
But it sounds like the county ordinance will bypass some of
So
that.
you can't ride up North Ford Street, but when you get in the county, you can ride down Old Cass Road or Cass
Yeah.
Highway.
Yeah,
right, but.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to retain the reasons we thought we were keeping ATVs off these roads
Well, if you're out
on the
very
cross the
late in
imaginary
summertime-
line and they're on that side.
If you're
Well-
out very late in the summertime, there are several places where they're ridden in town.
yeah,
I mean, I can see the intention for safety being those roads are where people often travel the fastest. And, if somebody were to get in a collision with a UTV, could be a bad situation. And, I mean, I know that the county passed their ordinance, I don't know that means we have to amend those.
It should be even safer in town since we're under a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Where on the county road you're at 50, 55.
and you have more, you have more stop and go traffic in town, more pedestrians in town, more.
Uh-huh.
I get that, the whole county thing, and I'm appreciative of that, but at the same time, the usage in county, farming, hunting, other usage is different than what the allowed people are using it for inside the city limits. And the golf carts versus the no golf carts and the age. I guess if I have farm kids, 16, 17-year-olds old, and they're taking the UTV from one farm to the other or one field to the other is a little bit different than having, 16-year-olds running around town on a ATV. I mean, I can see the difference, I suppose, but
What do you think, chief?
There's good points, I guess, that Sheriff Grover brought up. I guess I don't know what the original intent was when it was first brought up, because I could see the local operation would really have no effect on the county ordinances or vice versa. I guess we also know, though, that that's probably going to happen. We're going to run into that traffic whether we like it or not. Then we just have to figure out how to deal with that once we encounter those here within the city limits.
Well, I think the county definitely took a lot more time and understanding before they made an ordinance over what we did in the past.
who did this ours?
It
Adrian?
was between you and myself.
Oh, the new one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
one.
I mean, they went off the road, we already had.
This, and I mean, this is just,
I mean, this
again,
started.
primarily focused with just getting the weight limit
Mhm.
changed. That was our intention. There wasn't,
this isn't where you can go and so forth.
we
This
weren't
is just,
intending to
Yeah.
review change the entire thing. But
which
we
we
certainly
could,
can go back if you'd like.
we can amend that part at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But since this is just dealing with the weight and so forth, I'm gonna make the motion to approve it.
This does affect registration.
Affect registration, but where does it say,
It doesn't talk about what routes are open or.
Right.
Does it talk about insurance?
The original ordinance does, yes.
Yes,
That
well,
hasn't changed.
so that we'd have to
We could
amend that one too, but all we're talking about with this ordinance here, it looks like to me is
The weight?
well, basically the weight, the registration of it, you know, the capacity of the vehicle, of what it, you know, it has to have a steering wheel and so forth, so,
And as far as the insurance goes, the same insurance agents that are insuring the county ones are insuring the city ones, and if they're, just because the state minimum is this, they're gonna,
Right.
they're gonna advise to do more because of what the county rules are.
you would
So,
hope,
yeah,
yeah.
well, they'll want that.
Well, and for the dollar amount differential, it's not that big of a deal, but,
Yeah,
so we've got a couple other things that we're gonna have to amend at some point in time before the summer comes around, probably, before they start getting full use, but at least here we can get the size and so forth put into place and then come back and do the other two portions.
I'll second Rich's motion.
First by Rich, second by Betty. Any further discussion? This is a roll vote.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody,
No.
Betty,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes,
Kay,
No.
John.
Yes.
Alrighty. 7.2, discussion and possible action on first reading of ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the 2018 Anamosa House urban renewal area pursuant to section 40319 of the the Code of Iowa.
So moved.
second.
First by Cody, second by Rich. Any discussion?
is this the one we tabled to get more into? Yes, okay.
And this is a roll vote.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes,
Kay,
Yes.
Yes.
John, Rod.
Yes.
Possible waiver of the second and third reading.
That would be recommended.
I would move to waive the second, third reading.
Second.
and why are we waiving it?
Just so that the, project can move forward.
You have to have the taxes.
We'll still have to be
The division
back.
of taxes levied, we have to be able to do that in order to do the development agreement
Okay,
and moving forward. It should have had it on the last agenda with the resolution, but
okay,
So first by Cody, second by Rich, and it's roll vote.
Betty,
yes,
Rich,
yes,
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
No.
Cody.
Yes.
Seven point three, discussion and possible action on resolution approving development agreement with Eagle View Land Development Incorporated, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
So moved.
second.
First by Cody, second by Rich. Any discussion? And it too is a roll vote.
Rich,
Yes,
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty.
yes,
7.4, discussion and possible action on resolution approving the preliminary plat of the Meadow Ridge 9th and 10th edition to Anamosa, Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
First by Kay, second by Cody. And that too is a roll vote.
So has the engineering firm had a full opportunity to review the, stormwater runoff?
They haven't, to my knowledge, done a full review of that, but, in discussing with them, that doesn't necessarily have to be resolved prior to approving the preliminary. That can be, if there needs to be adjustments to that, we can do so in the design phase prior to the final plat.
So the preliminary plat, as would be approved, is in the same format as it was in our last meeting.
Yeah.
Is there any changes to it since we last seen it?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing would be the updated sewer drawings, but that doesn't really change the, parcels or the street layout or anything, so.
So, my question is, because I'm in that neighborhood now, and I get to hear what's being done with all the water problems, and now we have more development, what has been different, and what's being done with all the water problems. That doesn't get taken care of in the preliminary map. I mean, I'm not a builder, so I don't know, but I don't want to answer them, oh, nothing's been done.
Basically, the preliminary is the concept of the idea that gives everybody basically gives the engineer, gives the utility companies the approved concept, so they start doing further designs, knowing that the boundaries, the lot layout, the city's happy with. Before anything can be built, the city engineer has to review the plans, approve the plans, before anything's actually constructed.
And who is the city engineer?
I think using Schneider for the review, right?
And so, we approve the preliminary map, okay, and then, Snyder works with you and the city? Or does the city go like this and then it's you and Snyder that works and we just,
No,
We
it has to
hired-
go through
Let
the
him
city. Schneider will probably work hand in hand with MMS on their requirements for the city. And I believe the city is using SUDA specifications. So they'll work back and forth to get that done, then it'll come to council with Lindsay's recommendation, and then she has to review, and I think they're already working on the stormwater side of it as far as reviewing that. So,
For easements?
no, for the stormwater, retention. When the original, 10 years ago, when the stormwater, plan was built, that detention pond in Nawade was, over-designed quite a bit, just because that's the way it fit the land. So, with the new requirements, it should all still work fine, but they're going through that. Basically, everything from the current east and, southeast all gets retained in that large detention pond, and then it slowly gets released into that 24-inch pipe that goes across Concrete Golf Course to Pond Road. So that's where all the water's coming from there. As far as down with the early editions of Meadow Ridge, where the concerns are with the water in the backyards, this doesn't add anything to it, it doesn't take anything away from it, it's just the watershed goes back to the east once you crest there on Council Street. So, in the preliminary here, in the design and the build of it, we've, put in, some ADS storm lines to go along the backside of the lots, cause this is gonna have the same, this one actually has a little worse scenario than what the residents had on the Chamber Drive portion of Meadow Ridge when Humboldt developed it. It takes a lot more slope from Caitlin and Breckenridge, so we're gonna have that in there with an easement that basically there'll be a storm sewer back there that'll be able to catch and drain the water out.
And that's currently identified on the preliminary.
I believe
map.
that is, yes. the sewer, we've been working with Jacob on some, and we've got the first rendition of the drawing, going back and forth with different ideas, and part of it is we're trying to design, in so that the city can extend that line up through there and take care of possible future conflicts on the sewer problems on Chamber. So part of what we're designing with this is to design that so that it lines up and all. So we're working with Jacob and Dan on that as well, so that that sewer lines up right to take care of those issues. Basically, the idea is to get it out, get it behind the curb, so they can dig up along Chamber and not tear any concrete out, repairing the failed service lines that are underneath Chamber.
Well, we definitely need more housing in the area. I experienced that myself, so I get that, and, I don't mean to sound so but I get jumped all the time in our neighborhood about everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I just wanted clarification, and this way too, they can get online and listen to what you had to say, and,
Yep,
yep, perfect, thank you.
you betcha.
Thanks.
I guess with preliminary plats or mapping that I've seen, Bryce, is where they do identify the stormwater easements to the inside of each property line. This preliminary plat does not have that.
As far as down every property line?
Yes.
One can look into that. Basically,
We're now
it depends
gonna,
what one's after with easement.
well, as Cody pointed out in our last meeting, you know, we currently have an 8-foot setback from the property line as per ordinance.
Right, so you got 16 foot
So
between the buildings.
asking for a 10-foot would be a little invasive of the property owner, but there would be no reason why there couldn't be a 5-foot water drainage, stormwater easement on all property lines. That would now permit 5 feet on each side, so a 10-foot allowance for water runoff.
Yeah. No, it definitely could be something. I haven't, of the subdivisions I built, I haven't seen that implied. The one I have seen in Marion and Cedar Rapids, both are big on grading inspections prior to final acceptance. So they actually have an inspector, which I know they have a budget for, but it's, they come out and make sure the water is draining properly. And it's tough when, like in Marion, you know, you'll have 5 or 6 different builders hopping right beside each other, and where the water goes, as long as it goes away from the building, that's, you know, typical of what they're worried about. So I think with this one, I know we've done a lot more with just having the storm sewers running back there. And one thing we did was we tried to put a intake on every other property line, so that everybody has a corner that goes to one of those area intakes. So whether they wanna run a tile to it or do whatever, they have access. And then there'll be places where that comes out.
And is that only on the lots, in a sense, the furthest east of your proposed development?
Be east and south of Council Street.
So there is some running south, I didn't recall seeing that.
Basically where Council ends now, and then we'll go around the curve. There'd be some to the south of it there,
Okay.
backing up to Breckenridge.
I specifically remember the ones, in a sense, on the back side of the Caitlin Face and
Yep.
properties.
Yeah, the ones to the south actually are the worst. There's probably, I bet you there's 10 to 12 foot of elevation change in the back there. So, but they do have a little extra depth to account for that, and then, like I say, they'll have the drain through the backyard.
Well,
Like I say, once we get it designed, it'll be for review, so if there's comments or other thoughts, I mean, can't build anything till, you know, you guys go through and everyone has, you know, what they're saying on the final design.
Just have reluctance approving this plat without those drainage easements on the property lines. Again, it may be nothing more than the individual engineering firm of when they incorporate those onto their mapping.
Yeah,
Ones
I-
I've seen are on the preliminaries, they do it up front.
Yeah, well, like that one has the drainage easements where those storm sewers are running up behind the houses and along the backyards. Like I said, I haven't commonly seen that, so I'd be speaking in ignorance if I said much about what I know about putting the easement up each line. Personally, I don't really see the need for it, but then in my mind, it's pretty simple when you build, you create a swell between the houses. But I know that doesn't always work across the board.
Sure. Like I said, when you get multiple developers, or builders, I should say.
Yeah.
That was my only question.
So you ready for a roll vote?
Yep. You ready?
Yep.
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ron,
No,
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes,
Rich.
Yes.
7.5, discussion and possible action on resolution approving the preliminary plat of Country Club Estate Second Edition, Anamosa, Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rich.
again, Bryce, my reluctance is for the same reasons.
Any discussion on this one? This is also a roll vote.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
No,
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
yes,
Yes.
Kay.
Yes.
7.6, discussion and possible action on
Thanks.
sales
Right.
agreement.
your time.
I have one question from her. How long does it take from the time we approve a preliminary until the actual plat is before us to see it? What Rod's designation is?
It depends on the developer. So, I mean,
And review of our engineering firm.
I mean, I think we had a preliminary from Rick Casper's several months ago, and we're looking at maybe getting his final plat in January, so.
And nothing gets billed until the final plat comes?
They can, kind of rough in the street and stuff. Again, that's kind of the idea, is that they wanna make sure that plats and their road all fit as planned. If
Uh-huh.
they find that they've gotta deviate for some reason, then they make those modifications before the final plat.
Okay, but before they dig a basement, put a house, the final?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
You gotta, yep.
I'm, just so I understand.
The plat has to be recorded before they can sell a
Right.
lot off.
Alright,
Are we on 7.6 now?
well, as soon as I read it,
Oh, I thought you read it.
Make an
I got
abstract
part way
of each
before I was
side.
interrupted.
Okay.
Discussion and possible action on sales agreement with Revise LLC for the design and hosting of a new website.
So moved. Second.
First by Rich, second by John. Any discussion?
Well, in reviewing the, city examples that you provided, Jacob, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
I can certainly see, I don't wanna say because of today's technology and what's at our fingertips, cause it's been there for quite some time now, that, well-maintained and, current by nature website could be an attractive point for residents looking to move as well as small and large business. So, well, I see those samples were very impressive.
You have first and second?
Yeah.
We do.
Yep. So you want Jacob to go ahead and continue with that? The new website?
We haven't
Oh.
yet.
No, I'm just trying to get a jump on it before we go that far. I don't want you to go, well, you didn't let us talk. All right. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 7.7, discussion and possible action on the utility easement agreement with Interstate Power and Light Company at water treatment plant.
Any questions on that? Essentially just a new light pole,
That's
or
what I-
electric pole.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Betty, second by Rich.
Do we,
Is this at the water treatment plant or wastewater plant?
Water.
Water.
It is, okay.
do we have any verbiage that for some reason if Alliant were to be, in a sense, become defunct or another means of providing the power and they abandon the line, that the structure is removed per the city's request?
I don't know for sure on that.
Is it's actually gonna be structure within the city easement. So now, you know, flipping the calendar ahead, who knows how many years, now you have this structure sitting there that could be useless to the city. And they just abandon and leave it there. We may wanna have verbiage that they are required, if the city so says, that you remove it from the easement. And that should fall with overground or underground.
Especially with Alliant, that may be something we wanna address in a future revision of a franchise agreement, but, I mean, it could also be addressed in the easement agreements.
To your knowledge, there's nothing,
I'm not aware of it, but.
is this an item we need to act upon tonight?
I know they're expecting it, and I don't know what kind of delay it'll cause them to wait till January.
Well, if it's something we address in their,
Franchise agreement.
franchise agreement, it would cover what they already have too, right? Not
Yeah.
anything new from today forward.
It would cover everything.
It would cover all their stuff, I think.
We know that for sure, or we're
We
guessing?
can put it that way.
Well, this easement is just for setting this one pole? Is that what?
It's just for one pole on the water treatment plant. That's why I guess I would be hesitant to hold up for that issue just because it's one pole. If it was a bigger project, I would tend to agree with what you're saying.
Alright. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Carried. 7.8, discussion and possible action on renewal of service agreement for opening and closing of grave sites at the Riverside Cemetery.
So moved.
First-
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rich.
Does this get posted for bid? Or is
Does it-
this just, we just always go with this one contractor?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what
I
was?
know where you're going with it. The hard thing about the cemetery is that, you have to have somebody with that experience in the cemetery.
Yeah,
And
right.
so that years of, it's hard to bring a new person in and they're hard to find to do
Yeah, I just-
those.
Wanted to be sure we were opening it up if we needed to put it
Yeah,
up
we-
for,
According to what we've been told, we don't have to do that because of the situation within the cemetery.
okay.
Alright. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Carried. 7.9, discussion and possible action on resolution amending and setting new rates for opening and closing of graves in the Riverside Cemetery.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Rich, second by Betty. And it's a roll vote.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
8.0, public safety. 8.1, motion to approve the renewal of beer and liquor license, none. 9.0, public works, none. 10.0, finance. 10.1, discussion and possible action on resolution approving the salary increase of water operator and changing employee position from water operator 1 to water operator 2 on settings. Salary for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Kay. And it's a roll vote.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod.
Yes.
10.2, discussion and possible action on resolution approving the salary increase for the chief of police per terms of employment agreement for fiscal year 2018-19.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Rich, second by John.
So, as we outlined at the time of the offer and the hire of Chief Hoyt, there would be a review conducted. And at that time, upon a favorable review, this increase in salary would be offered up. But the review has not been conducted.
I conducted an evaluation and I apologize if there was miscommunication. I wasn't sure if the council wanted to be involved in that evaluation or not. Um,
I must have misunderstood that then. My apologies.
And he's doing okay?
doing very well.
He's still
He's
here.
doing very well, considering the wonderful building he gets to work in.
And this
There
is-
was sarcasm there. Did y'all get that?
With you.
Figured that one out, Kay.
and this is a roll vote.
Betty,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody.
Yes.
10.2, discussion and possible action approving the payment of bills for the month of
Ooh, I
December.
messed up my numbers.
What?
So
I messed
moved.
up my numbers.
Oh, that was 3.
Yeah, should have been 3. I'm off. Sorry, that was my bad. We got a first from Betty.
I'll second.
Thank you.
First by Betty, second by Rich.
I just wondered on this, what, 62660 red sail and service, these oil changes.
Me too.
We've got a left to do that down at the shop, and I'm just wondering, I don't know what truck 2, what truck 4 is.
That's the fire department.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's all fire.
Yep.
Okay. Because I don't know, can I ask what Dorsey and Whitney LLP,
That's our, bond attorneys.
thank you.
So all this stuff we've been talking about with the tax and the financing and the development agreements, that they've been working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? If no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, carried. 10.4, discussion and possible action approving the proposed fiscal year 2018-19 Anamosa Fire Department budget as recommended and approved by the Anamosa Fire Association Board.
So moved.
Second.
First by Kay, second by Cody. Any discussion?
I would invite everybody to go to the fire station because I can walk between the fire equipment and the doors. And if I had to put on one of those uniforms, I don't know whether I'd have to move the fire truck out to get to it, to get it on. I think we need to look at expansion.
They're pretty tight there, aren't they?
They keep making those trucks a little longer every year. There's no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 10.5, discussion and possible action on change order number 1, reducing the contract amount by $4,800 to utility service company for the water tower rehabilitation project.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Rich, second by Betty. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 10.5, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's, my numbers are messed up.
10.6, discussion and possible action on resolution approving and accepting the work done utility service company for the water tower rehabilitation project.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by Rich, second by Cody. It's a roll vote.
Rich,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
10.7, discussion and possible action on pay request number 1 and number 2 in the respective amounts of $218,025 and $11,475 to utility service company for the water tower rehabilitation project.
So moved.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rich.
So this is now we are going to be making payment on these totals for a project that was done in 2016, correct?
Correct. If you have any questions, I believe Lauren from HR Green is here.
So it's just been sitting for 2 years unpaid?
You didn't need the money, or
Oh, this is not me. This is not me.
could you please come to the?
Yes, I can. So this is to utility services company, and essentially what happened, and I'm not gonna try to speculate on what happened on their end of things, but, the project happened, we had some punch list type items that we wanted to get done, and, walked through those, and told them they could request less, payment, and then never received a request. Then some items came up that were warranty type items, and we were working with them on when they were gonna come back and get them, fixed. And told them at that time, still haven't been paid for this project, and still no request was made. I'm not gonna speculate as to why, they didn't get that done, but, it didn't happen. Essentially what worked out in your favor is that the warranty period kind of got extended because we didn't finalize the project, or they didn't reach substantial completion until later than what they might have had before if they'd been on top of, trying to get things documented. So, you guys got your warranty extended a little bit longer, it'll be extended now till 2019, so in the spring, we would look at having them come back and doing a thorough check to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be fixed. So, yes, it was all completed in 2016 for the initial substantial completion, but, still hasn't been paid.
And this was the bill we were given in 2016? Are we new in 2016? This was what it was gonna be?
Yes, it was bid in 2016, and then this was the project that was budgeted for, and at some point I just probably fell off the books because of the time it took, so. But yeah, it was originally budgeted for in 2016.
And the warranty work has been done that they were supposed to come back and do?
No, that warranty work is gonna be completed this spring, and the reason we did that, was they could have come earlier this spring or this fall, but we had talked with them and said, if you wanna wait until this coming spring, we would allow ample time for any issues to arise that might arise, if there was some pinprick in the painting or something like that, that would, show up over time. We would just give more time for something like that to surface, become aware of it, so, just so they can tackle it all in one trip and not have to make another trip back.
I would like to see somebody stay on top of this to make sure the warranty work is completed before the end of 2019, just because if we're gonna drop the ball on invoicing for something like this, we might drop the ball on getting warranty work done.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean,
So we're in contact with them every 2 months, but yeah, it's happy to stay in touch. I think, Heath has been trying to stay in touch with Jim as much as possible through this whole thing, but it's just.
So the positive that comes out of this is we've got an extended warranty. But the downside is the burdensome for budgeting that now we need to shuffle the cards again.
Correct.
You're fully aware how that all works for a city.
My husband was on the West Branch City Council for a long time, so I do know. And we can do everything for them, but write the bill for them to get paid.
So it was a contractor that has it never invoiced
Exactly,
us,
yes.
so it wasn't anything of your doing.
Right, we were trying to get them to invoice it, I don't know if there was a mix-up between their accounting department and their project manager, I'm not sure, but, this is a relatively small project on their end, so that might have contributed to some of that.
Thank you. So, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Carried. 11.0 City Administrators Report.
Just wanted to touch on the projects. Still working to continuing to put pressure on Kalachi Construction to complete the work at the water treatment plant. Again, there's progress happening, but it's, again, progress that should have happened 2 or 3 months ago, so we're just doing whatever we can to hold them to the contract, kind of taking it day by day.
So how far do you think they are from completion?
Substantial completion, they could, I mean, if they did everything right, could be there within 1 to 2 weeks. But then again, if they don't do everything right, it could be longer than that.
Well, and 1 or 2 weeks without holidays.
Yeah, I was just gonna think 1 or 2 weeks will be New Year's and we'll be hearing nothing was done for the holidays.
I mean, they're getting they're towards the end, they're working on rehabbing the old filters. I think they're wanting to get those online before the holidays, and if the testing comes back, they probably will. But there's still other, they've got to update, they've got a lot of piping, there's temporary piping that they've got to get permanent piping and work in the chlorine room before substantial completion. So then they've got punch list items after that, so still a lot of work to be done. The other thing is just starting to work on the new well. We've got the report from H&R Green with providing some different options for the well site, and we're looking into those, comparing our options versus some lands that we own versus lands that we don't. So
That's it.
that's it.
12.0, mayor and council reports on boards and commissions.
Well, the tourism, we set the budget for the tourism, so that'll be coming January, February. For fire department, Cody, Kay, and I, we set that budget too, so we had that discussion, and we also have a little problem that we're going to have to address where there's one township that's not sending a representative. So we've got to figure out what the game plan is to switch that person or switch that township out, because there's nothing in the bylaws right now to address it. So
And the budget's less this year than it was last year.
a little bit,
I read that.
Yeah.
a little bit. Plus, we also factored in potentially re-graveling the parking lot. So we added that in, and it's still less than last year. So,
And they desperately need more space.
yes.
Oh, definitely.
Well, and as part of that, Tim is going to get with Jacob to go over some of that before we get into budgeting too much.
You know what would be nice if and I don't know how this can be done, I've thought about it often, that people who have homeowners insurance, you pay, like it's part of your plan, and you pay for fire department use. And like for us to have downtown when the big fire was, I had requested that the fire department give a $500 bill so that they could get the $500 from our insurance company. But because they're a volunteer department, they can't bill like you can in the city, apparently, is what I was being told. But you do pay for it with your insurance, so it's almost like everybody in Anamosa is paying in homeowners insurance for something they don't get to use. And I just think that there's gotta be a way that the insurance companies aren't gonna change it. You're gonna pay whether you get billed or not. So if there was some way that through the fire department, that could be figured out how to make that where they, I don't know how that I've been thinking about that a lot, so might just kind of put that in your brain to figure out if there's a way we could be getting our fire department to be getting the money that they're due. Yeah, so, just food for thought.
Anybody else?
You know, emergency management, like I said, budget coming up. He was trying to sell their 2011 pickup, didn't get high enough bids, so they redid it. Brenda today sent email that they're close to about what they want, so that'll get approved. The big thing with 911 meeting is the smart 911 phones, I think it's 8,500 to get that. If they get a call in, they'll be able to keep better track of where that's coming from. They can pinpoint better. So that's a big 8,500 to start and then 7,500 every year. But it's something that could save lives in order to get responders to an accident, whatever, quicker and farther.
And the landfill board, we went over not very much stuff, but they were rehabbing the one end loader, so while that's tore apart, they're gonna replace some seals and that on some of the hydraulics. Anybody else?
Are we still doing our recycling and sending it to Illinois?
No, the recycling, I think, is going to the Butte.
Oh,
It was going to Cedar Rapids, but they got to be where was more trouble, so we found an outlet in the Butte. Alright, 13.0, public with business with the council on items not on the agenda. 14.0, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
First by Rich, second by Betty. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried.
Second.